Though it was reduced to minute numbers after the Great Purge of Mandalore, a massive bombardment of the planet Mandalore, and a genocidal attempt by the Empire to rid the galaxy of Mandalorians and steal resources, the minute numbers of clan Kryze were loyal, steadfast, and strong. Following the clan's leader and namesake, Bo-Katan Kryze, this group often easily identified by their armor color palette, often consisting of a lighter shade of blue, some yellows, and some white combinations. A blue much similar to what can also be seen on some of the Death Watch Mandalorian. Regardless of any coinciding color combinations, this group was loyal to Bo-Katan, believing it was their duty to follow her and fight alongside her on the great quest to seek out the Dark Saber, regain rule over, and restore the glory of Mandalore. A mission that, if successful, could allow the remaining of their kind to no longer hide in the shadows for fear of persecution by the Empire. In the critically and, well, more importantly, fan-acclaimed series, The Mandalorian, we get a chance to see the trio that remains of the clan as the main character, Din Djarin, finds himself in a difficult situation, having been tricked and captured by some fishermen on the moon Trask. To Din and the child Grogu's fortune, they had already been spotted and tracked by a member of the clan Kryze, Axe Woves. Axe was a human male from the planet Mandalore who faithfully followed Kryze in belief of restoration of the Mandalorian way, but a slightly different way as we later see the clan readily remove their helmets, which was built by the Mandalorian series to be an unbreakable rule that would ensure immediate expulsion from the way of the Mandalore. Woves, Kryze, and a third member, Koska Reeves, came to the rescue at the perfect time, as Kryze and Reeves split up to rescue the distressed pair, while Woves used his incredible combat skills to take on several of the fishermen as a distraction, ultimately subduing and finishing them as the three united and worked as a team. It was after this battle that we see the trio remove their helmets and are greeted with the faces of 3 actual Mandalorians, just as Din is. Only, Din did not take it well, accused them of being fakes, frauds, charlatans, though this is also where we learn more history in that Din was actually following the way of a group called the Children of the Watch, which followed an ancient belief in the Way. And you could say that this scene helped ensure that Kryze, Reeves, and Woves were properly woven into the storyline, but it turns out that this thread wasn't done being pulled. As the story unravels more, we see the trio are still providing a sort of blanket coverage of Din and the child, watching from a distance as they have to swoop in and save the pair once more. Now, this prompts Din to give Bo-Katan a chance to talk more and provide detail on herself and the team, convincing Din to help them with another mission where we get to see all 4 in action, with Woves displaying even more skilled combat training. Though we're not given much more on Woves yet in the series, we are given a chance to see more of the character and his design thanks to Hasbro and their recent release. Hey everyone, my name's Jonathan, aka JK of JK Collection. Remember, I'll be posting new videos at least twice a week, if not more. If that sounds of interest to you, please click that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. In this episode, we are taking a closer look at the Hasbro Black Series 6-inch scale Axe Woves. Hey everyone, and welcome back, and here we have it, Mr. Axe Woves of the Clan Kryze, the Mandalorian series. So let's check out the back as usual. This is another one that flew under the radar of the plastic-free packaging, as we can see. Back here on the back, we have a nice drawing of the character Axe Woves, aka the actor that was playing it. A very good representation. I'm always in awe of the ability that people have when it comes to their artistic skills. Over here on the side, we've got the typical side view of the window. There's that Mandalorian kind of burnt orange theming color, and here's a little bit a longer, not bigger, but taller version of that drawing. We can see just a little bit more Razor Crest flying in the background and all that. And then here's the figure, right? So just that standard packaging that we're used to. I do love the sides because it's so easy to see who you're looking at when they're all lined up, hanging on a peg or sitting on a shelf. It makes things so much simpler, and I like simplicity. Like the simplicity of getting something out of a package, right? So empty box right there because we've got our tray, and of course we've got our pamphlet. Where would we be without it, right? So we'll take the top tray off. A bit of extra plastic there. We'll take our jetpack out. We'll take our helmet out carefully because we don't want to, I don't know what the condition of that rangefinder is. I don't want to take a risk of damaging it. We have one weapon and we have one axe Okay, so first and foremost, let's take a closer look at these items that came along with it, the accessories. Okay, so let's start with we'll start with the old weapon, because we've got two other things that are of a similar color, and we'll keep it with the color scheme. So what I like here, very basic, very simple weapon, right? It's your generic blaster. It's quite possible that this has been in the hands of yet another Black Series character. You know, a little bit of general reuse. But one thing that I like to see, a little bit of paint applied to it, right? So we've got some silver on there, which is nice. It just kind of adds that little bit of extra something. Makes it look like it's a more important, more special, more cherished weapon, right? It's not just a cast piece of black plastic generic business going on there. No opening or anything like that for any kind of blast effect. We don't really see that a lot with the Black Series stuff. There is subtle detail in there, right? But you know, a lot of the blasters just don't really have a lot going on. It's just that generic weapon, not really designed to look like anything that we might be more familiar with. But there we go. So not bad. Happy to see it. Some of the paint, you know, the lines are a little bit wavy, a little bit wonky, but all in all, I'm just happy to see some paint on there. A little bit of waviness right there, and kind of slight unevenness as far as the width, but not too bad. Not too bad at all. Take a look at the jetpack. Okay, so I mean, what's a Mandalorian without a jetpack? We do not have a removable rocket or anything like that up at the top. We do have articulation in the jets, which is good, right? Especially if we're trying to portray like a flight thing. Maybe we get some effects that go onto the bottom here from one of the other characters, like maybe a Boba Fett or maybe a Mandalorian that comes with them. So it helps with posing. You can make it look like it's helping him fly a different direction. So happy to see that. It's a very simple thing, right? One would think to add on there. The pack is in that cast blue plastic. It's just such a nice shade of blue. I'm such a sucker for these Mandalorian that come with this blue on it, right? So Axe, even the Death Watch one. I like the silver treatment of paint on here. All in all, fairly well applied. I don't know if you can see right here. There's a little bit that bleeds over onto the blue. Some of the silver that kind of missed the mark. Just a little bit extra. I guess they would prefer to go a little extra than a little less. Some silver mist right up here in this corner. You know, so it's imperfect, but it's yet again, right? So if I pull it back, you can't really tell. You can see this, but the imperfectness in the corners right there, you can't really see anything. There's something kind of odd with these. I don't know if some of the silver's coming off of it or something with the way the plastic was molded. These just look a little bit weird. The silver's definitely uneven, a little wavy right there and transitioning to the blue. But again, all in all, cool little pack, right? Very simple, not a whole lot needed to it. Very clean, you know, he takes care of his stuff. But the thing that I want to throw in that is, we'll look at the helmet, that's a good example, is that, let's shift, there we go. The helmet does have battle damage, right? So it's got wear on it. And it definitely has some wear and tear. And this is intended issues with the paint here. So the helmet, and we'll see on his costume even there's a little bit of damage. So one would expect the pack would have at least gotten hit with something, right? I mean, yeah, we don't want it to be because it has a fuel source in there and that would be very dangerous, but you wouldn't really expect it to be perfect when nothing else is, right? So you got paint scratched off here. There's not really anything with the actual structure of the helmet, you know, which is good for safety because theoretically you'd have to replace it. But there's a lot of wear on the paint, which is always interesting to me because you have the blue cast plastic, you apply the green paint, and then you apply some silver to make it look like the green and blue paint has been scratched off down to the metal that's supposed to be underneath the blue. It's just so fun to like the creative process of this stuff and how convincing it is, right? So you look at that and you're like, oh yeah, his helmet has definitely scraped across some stuff a time or two. It's seen some battles and even the paint coming off up there intentionally, which is good, right? Good for several reasons, right? It gives it depth, it gives it life, it gives it history, but it also gives it a little bit of freedom to be imperfect, right? Because, oh yeah, that must have been intentional. Yes, sure. The rangefinder, as I was babbling on, it moves up and down. Always happy to see that. Yet another seemingly simple articulation that every Mandalorian should have as a capability in their helmet, right? If you can do it with one, do it with all of them, right? Because the ability is definitely there. Otherwise, the paint, okay, like the green kind of mist on the swoop right there. You see it on the side where it tucks in. It barely went above, but it did it on both sides. So it's kind of a bit of a pass, whether it was supposed to or not supposed to. It at least is practically even, so I can't really be upset about that, right? It's when it's clearly uneven that it's like, did you guys really mess up that badly? But otherwise, looking pretty good. All right, let's move on to Axe himself, as promised, so we can see some of these details. See, you can already see battle damage all over his armor. The blue hasn't really taken much. It's that cast plastic. It almost seems like they were afraid to mess with the blue. I don't know if that's a sparkle or what, but I'm jumping ahead. Let's take a look. Jumping ahead. Let's jump to the head instead of jumping ahead and just look at it. Look at this. Look at the likeness of it. Let me switch to manual so we can get a little bit, maybe hopefully clearer focus. There we go. That's pretty good. Look at that. Look at that likeness of the character, of the actor. Just that photoreal printing does leave a bit of a shine. But considering the realism that we see of these characters, it's amazing. I honestly can't wait for hopefully the selfie series will catch up to this capability one day, because it's a fascinating idea. I would just love to see the execution of it catch up and have a figure that looks as close in likeness as this does to the actor, to those of us, the fans out there, right? But paint app's very good with the printing. Everything looks very clean. Even looks like he's got some scars included in there. There's some looks like sculpted into the plastic, and then there's some that are painted on. So you can see he's definitely battle hardened. Hair sculpt, very well done. It's a solid brown color. Again, you know, sometimes just to add a little bit of depth to hair, wouldn't hurt to put a little bit on there, but it doesn't detract is what I can say, right? Because overall it's a very good look. Let's check out some mobility. So the neck clearly separate from the torso, so we've got a lot of neck mobility there. So side to side is going to be good, but what about the head separate from the neck? Oh, very good. Once it pops loose, it was definitely stuck a little bit, as we often see with plastic figures after they're packaged for a while. You know, they might still have a little bit of heat to them, and they're in and out of shipping containers and trucks and different temperatures, so it's possible that the plastic can set a little bit and kind of stick together. But side to side, not bad, even independent of the neck. It's nothing amazing, but I appreciate that the neck also adds more to it. Up and down, obviously the neck is going to travel and bring more to it, but either way, even without the neck, it still does look up from a straightforward, even if it's not a whole lot. And then down, same thing. Very good. The neck does come along, but the head, being on that double bald thing, the barbell, dumbbell, whatever you want to call it, it helps bring it down. So we've got chin to chest armor at least. So very good mobility there. Most importantly, the head does rotate separately for our full exorcist. The neck didn't even want to try and travel, although it can. So if you grip the neck, it will do it, but the head travels independent. So that's a very good thing to see, right? You don't have to worry about holding the neck in one place and trying to move the head. They travel independently. The armor, this shoulder pad is attached up here to the chest piece. So it's not trying to travel above. It's instead just moving with the arm like that. I think I prefer this, maybe, because then you don't have to worry about it potentially bunching up and going up there, because it always kind of pushes it out. Either way, it's going to push out, but it does, you know, it will settle down. No butterfly joint in there from what I can tell. Yeah, no, I think it's just flexing the torso underneath this overlay. But we do have good arm mobility, right? So up and down, and a full rotation. We do not have a bicep tricep. We do have an elbow, but it is surprisingly a single elbow. How about that? Very interesting. Do we have four? We do have forearm rotation, so that is a nice thing because we can see it's not just the gauntlet, it does take the wrist with it. And speaking of wrist, we do have full wrist rotation, and we have the forward backwards, which this part of the gauntlet could get in the way if you don't have the wrist in the right position, but also this piece right here on the top of the glove does hinder some of the back. So you see it doesn't really go much further past that, no matter where it is, but it will go the forward, the inward motion. So interesting thing to kind of pay attention to. Not often do we have to do a hand backwards, so that's a fortunate thing. It will move forward. Same articulation on the other arm. This one is a weapon holding or trigger hand. So this one has up and down movement, but also there is a spot poking out on the gauntlet that can cause some hindrance. So you may want to rotate away from it or make sure that it's not on it, so you have that the maximum amount of mobility that you can, but we do have full rotation. Mid-torso does have capability, so we do have a little bit of crunch capability. Back is pretty good, right? So it does do a pretty good arch to the back there. This isn't one that has different detents to snap in forward or backwards. It does have just basic full rotation or free movement. One thing I'll say is in trying to move forward, this overlay, which is this upper piece, does block it, right? Because it rubs against this lower piece, which is also, it's just tucked up underneath. So you see we have just like a plain gray body under there. This piece tucks up underneath and they kind of rub together, but they impact each other and it kind of stops that crunch. No waist rotation. This travels a little bit, but not too bad. Legs, we don't have the drop down, but not terrible flexibility. I mean, he is wearing armor. He's a Mandalorian. They're not necessarily flexible. They are just warriors, right? I don't see, oh yay, okay, a very well hidden line for the upper thigh movement. I mean, when I look at it on the screen, it's not so well hidden, but in just the naked eye, I was at a quick glance thinking that there wasn't going to be one, but there it was. It is hidden pretty well behind this, and then it's just such a thin line across there. See, it's not always easy to spot. That's very cool. I like when it can be hidden like that. We have a single knee in there. And it's kind of unfortunate because it seems like it could have been an opportunity for a double knee, and this would have been in the middle to kind of help mask it. A little disappointing to have that single knee like that because flexibility is just, I wouldn't really feel too limbered up with that one. That's really putting in 50% of the effort on that one is the best way I can word it safely. We do have rotation at the knee though. Which is interesting because we don't have the calf rotation, but at the knee it does have that capability. And then for the foot, forward and backwards. Backwards is pretty good. Forward, that's basically just a flat foot. And a little bit of, yeah, we got a little ankle braking capability right there. Same functionality on the other side, of course. All right, so let's take a closer look at these paint apps and the details of it. So again, like I mentioned, on the head, solid. A lot of this is cast plastic. The dark gray that we see, the clothing underneath, it is cast plastic. This is a cast rubbery of this color. And then we have green applied over it. And you can see there's kind of a line where we can still see that beige shining underneath the green. The green definitely hit the face, but not the edges. And then beyond that, the little silver bits that were applied there to show where through the green to the metal that's not technically there, but is there by the imagination. And then the paint up here, also not perfect, right? Along the edges is quite often an opportunity. We get the face of it painted, but those thin, small edges, it's a bit of a difficult thing. Not a huge deal, in my opinion, if it's like a side piece or up here or even around on the back. But when it's something that you're going to be looking straight onto, and you can see this plateau where the gray is shining through and then it turns green, that's kind of an opportunity where it would have been good to see that little bit of extra detail on there. I know it's a lot. I know it's difficult to get those tiny spots, but some of them are definitely worth the effort. These green ones are cast green in this flexible plastic with a little bit of silver attached to it and some dents and dings, which is kind of neat. It gives it that metallic feel. The belt piece right here is painted silver, and it's a nice shiny silver. It looks like it's damaged, but I think that's honestly just scratches that were unintended. A little bit of imperfections on that. This is cast in that flexible brown rubbery plastic with a little bit of green painted over top back here, and that green paint is very well applied. These blue gauntlets are good with a little bit of black details on them. This holster, which does pop open, and the weapon should go in with no issue as usual. But I wonder if this is the same issue where, oh, it does. I've seen some where when you put the weapon in the holster, that thing no longer pops in because the weapon pushes it out too far. So that's good to see. I'm happy to see that. It's always kind of a takeaway when the little flap won't stay shut. Little pouches, would have been cool to see some little maybe silver dots for the little buttons or you know, whatever color. Green on here with the dents sculpted into it and a little bit of silver to show some wear. The blue on this is very well applied. And then the gray to show the straps on the back. Nice little extra detail, right? Didn't have to do it, especially since it's around the back. But I mean, obviously it's just seems like maybe leaving the blue paint off. But that's fine. It's a nice little detail that I'm happy to see. And then the boots are just cast in their black plastic. So all in all, very well done, right? No major issues to stand out or to speak of. I think it's a good figure. Is it a groundbreaking Mandalorian figure? No. But is it a cool looking figure? Yes. Is it one from the Mandalorian series? Yes. Does it complete the set of the clan cries from that? Absolutely. Right, so if you're a Mandalorian fan, if you're an Woves fan, if you're just a fan of blue colored figures, I say pick it up. No major issues on it, but he stands up nicely by himself, and we'll show some 360s of him. We'll be right back. And here's our boy, the Mandalorian Woves from the Clan Kryze, as appears in the Mandalorian series, and good figure, right? Like I said, if you're a fan of the Mandalorian series, if you're a fan of Mandalores in general, if you like that blue color, if you were thinking about it, I think it's a very well done figure. It's entirely up to you. I don't think you'll regret picking it up. It just depends if you needed to add another one to your collection, or you want to have the trifecta of the clan that appeared in the Mandalorian series. But I don't think you'll be disappointed. I hope you enjoyed it. Well, that about does it. Thank you for checking us out and for joining us on this collecting journey, as always. And look for at least 2 new videos each week, if not more. If you got something from today's episode and haven't already done so, please subscribe and click that like button. It would really help us out, and it truly would mean a lot to me. If you'd like to see some more videos, there are a couple of quick links on your screen right now for you to check out. But no matter what, as always, thank you for taking the time, and remember, we are all in this world of collecting together. Let's look out for each other. Thanks.